Hello, my name is Carroll Whittick, creativity and spiritual life coach and your host of Her Conversations Tools for the Awakening. Her is an acronym for higher energetic resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. What is the awakening? This is the moment in time when humanity rises up out of the darkness. Who is awakening? Each one of us present on earth today, reclaiming our sovereignty, seeking greater possibilities in our reality and looking for solutions. We know being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If we can transform ourselves, we can change the world. Guests on Her Conversations will speak to your spirituality, sensuality and soul. Listen to their stories and hear how they are in service to the world. Let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. Before we get into this week's episode with Carroll Dey, I just want to share with you a few ways that I am able to support you. Firstly, you're listening to Her Conversations, but did you know I also have a sister podcast called Her Inspirations, where in each episode I explore with you a different aspect of our spiritual and creative journeys. So if you want to listen into that, you can also join the mailing list while you receive emails that will give you additional teaching points and resources for you to explore as you go deeper into your own personal journey. And if you're someone who's always wanted to be heard in the world, and you could be launching your podcast, showing up more online, doing more public speaking, or being more vocal in your life, I've created Your Awakened Voice for you. This course empowers you to discover and develop your voice. Or maybe you're ready for a deeper, more personal container and working one-to-one with me. If you know there's a purpose to your life, my purpose is to support you and make that happen. In particular, I work with women over 40, helping you to trust your intuition, rediscover that innate creativity, and use your decades of wisdom to design a purposeful life. The links to all of these things are in the show notes below. My guest this week is Realtor Carroll Dey, who also serves on the Leadership Council of Sitar Arts Center in Washington, D.C. During our conversation, we talk about what she's learnt from the traumatic events in her life. These have included a car accident, a severe medical diagnosis, experiencing bereavement from suicide, and being conned out of her life savings, and turning those things into her triumphs. We also talk about staying in shape, physically, mentally, and spiritually, developing self-love, and what true wisdom really means. So as always, I begin by asking my guest. Her is an acronym for higher energetic resonance. When do you feel that higher energetic resonance?
Such a great question. I think right now, talking to you, but when I'm in my daily life, there's different times that I think I'm becoming more, that is becoming more resonant to me. So when I'm working out, I think that's really the most natural place for me to start. When I am working out with my trainer, I am at Align Fitness. I'm in a part of the city that is very busy. And when I walk into that environment for 1 hour, I know that I am being gifted something that I can't get anywhere else. That is the undivided attention of the person that I'm training with. And it brings up and out the core parts of me that are most important, both working out spiritually, mentally. I'm grounded, and I go into a void almost, or you could say an ethereal place, and it'll kick my ass. So later on in the day, I'm exhausted. But when I'm in that space, I become the person that they're bringing out in me. I even go upside down on rings, completely elevated by myself, with no fear at all, no fear. And I think that would be the best example of when I feel that.
Good. Thank you, Carroll. And before we go deeper into the conversation, just please share a little bit about your story and what brought you to the place that you are today.
It's a circuitous journey getting here. I think the best place to start is saying what brought it out for me to be able to express it was doing a mastermind course with Bob Berg in Florida last year. And when it was my turn to tell my story, I just blurted out all the things that I'd gone through over the decades, was being diagnosed with an eye disease and told that I would be blind by the time I'm 35. I'm twice that age now. My father's suicide, being hit by a car when a woman ran a red light while I was jogging, dating a con man who stole every cent I had. And then coming out of it, I believe, was the day that I was hit by the car. I always say to people, I landed on angel mattresses because I was surrounded by churches. And that was in 1999. I was hospitalized for almost a month, and I tore ligaments. I broke like a lot of things happened, but that was the beginning of the rest of my life, was that day. And so when I was with this mastermind group, they said to me as I sobbed all over the table and spewed my guts, they said, none of this is who you are anymore. You've turned tragedy into triumph. And that's what brought me here today, was being able to share my journey to be able to help others know that you can come through it, and hopefully inspiring people to be able to do that with my story of how I got here.
You said turning the tragedy into triumph, and I see the beauty in that, and it makes so much sense. But yet there are so many people who just get caught in the trauma of the tragedy to the point that they never really move past that and see how there is a lesson in that and how that's actually sent to grow them. What was it that made you see that you needed to move past it and saw that there was something that you could gain from the experiences? What made that a difference for you?
There's a few answers. I'm a resilient person. So when we'll use getting hit by the car, I had two choices. I could go into that and make that my who I was and just feel sorry for myself, or I could heal. And I have realized getting to this time in my life, and I think COVID has changed us as a world. And for me, coming out of COVID, because my trainer put together workouts for us every day, and I'm not going to say it was easy, it was really hard, but coming out of it, and we're all still coming out of it. You know, this is the whatever new normal. But it was during that time that I reset. And you and I talked before we came on here. I feel really, for me, it's been a journey. Yes, it's been since 1999. But in these last couple of years, I feel that, and I think my faith, I've gone deeper into my spirituality, my faith in God, and what got me here. And I think the thing that's really important to say to your audience is to take the things that happen to us and turn them around as a lesson. Yes, it happened. It did. It happened. But what can I do to change that episode or that trauma? How can I take a step and come with that into it being a lesson and using it to change me to be a better person, to be empathetic to others who may have had something similar happen to them, you know? And I'm really trying to find the best words, but it has made, I'm part of the Sitar Arts Center, and it's a school that it's an after school and summer program for children that are low income kids, and it's all the arts, and to see all based on the arts, from ballet to writing music, to playing a guitar. And that's where these children's passion comes through their music. And I think I would say to people, what do you love to do? What do you love to do? Do you like to write? Do you like to walk? Do you like to take photographs? Find what your passion is and direct your sadness or your anxiety and the things that bother you into something creative and full of love. And that will turn into your passion and I believe help you heal. And that's what my working out has done for me. I mean, I'm a realtor. I have other things that I do, but I love to work out. I love to walk. I like to write. I like to read. So I take my energies and I put them into places that will build my soul.
I wanted to feed back to you about the power of creativity and the power of channeling your pain or your sadness into some sort of expression, because I know 100% for me, that's what kept me on the straight and narrow with everything that was happening around me in my life, was channeling it into creativity, channeling it into music, especially, and writing songs and performing them. That's why it was and remains so important to me. And that's why I'm so much about creativity, because very early on also I realized that the creativity for me was a spiritual practice. And even though I came from a religious background and still have that faith, the real worship for me, the real connection came from the times when it's just me and the piano, or it's just me and the pen, trying to delve into the deepest recesses of my soul or my intuition, what was being fed out to me, that was a place that was unshakable, untouchable, that kept me confident in that I knew that I had some worth. Even though it was like within me, like a conversation with myself, it kept me within that confines of like, I know there's something that I'm really good at. I'm just trying to find a space in the world to make it kind of pay and keep me going, you know, and like supporting me in the world. And I think we spoke about this before as well, the lack of, you know, the rise in people feeling separated and anxiety. And I know I said I felt it was something that, not to say anxiety is a new thing, but like the prevalence of it, or maybe the discussion around it, seems to have ramped up so much more than when it did when I would like I feel like, especially friends that I have within their 30s are at the peak where they're really kind of caught in this anxiety and this kind of this, I think we talked about the healing cycle, that they get looped in the trauma of the traumas and the flaws of the flaws, and not really aligning to find out the core of who they are. And by having the core of finding the core of who you are, you're able to deal with everything that goes on around you and around the world in some respect as well. I mean, how does your creativity feed you? I want to hear back from yourself.
You just touched on something that I think we need to repeat, because when I was a kid, nobody talked about anxiety. Now, I don't know, and this is going to sound so stupid. I don't know if we had it. I also know that back then people did not tell like you didn't express the way people do today. Now we've gone to the exact opposite side with the pendulum, and everybody just spews their guts about everything. And so when you talk about anxiety, and I am not diminishing people's anxiety when I say that. What I'm saying is what you just said, is to take that anxiety and direct it into what will evolve to become your worthiness. And I think that word just really is coming out of my mouth this last year, is this may sound very odd to some people. I love myself now. I have found my worthiness. Do I have bad days? Of course.
Mm.
Do I like melt like a puddle on the floor? I just did about a week and a half ago. But my resilience is a shorter span of time. I don't stay in that. I try to identify it and come from it. So, what I would urge people to do who are listening to this, who are feeling anxious, like what you just said, in their 30s or whatever age it is to find again something you love. And I think I'm answering your question. That's what I am doing now and continuing to do it more. You know, with Sitar, I'm now on the leadership council. So I'm going to be involved with more of the public exposing or what's sharing the beauty of Sitar with people. You know, we of course are raising money for the school and the Sitar Art Center, but it's a unique experience for me because I'm meeting people not just in the arts, but all over Washington, D.C. and the world. And that's what's helping with doing things like this with you is you are in England, you're in a whole nother country, and we're having this conversation. And people are hearing me or us in places that I might not have visited yet. You know, I don't know those people. And those are the hearts and souls that we doing this together want to touch and hopefully help people to just stop. And, you know, my I've started meditating twice a day since the middle of September 2023. And it's actually rewired my brain, my body, and my being. Is just taking those 20 minutes in the morning and those 20 minutes late in the afternoon to stop, just stop and go into that quiet place for 20 minutes. It's become the easiest time of my day. And, you know, it's a whole nother conversation, but it's really helped me to recenter the way my mind and body and being are assimilating into the rest of my world.
Was that a new venture for you, meditation, or was it something that you've dabbled in and out of prior to
Both.
that?
I dabbled and wanted to. And then last year, after talking to a friend and colleague, she had gone into the center, the TM center here. And I went and I made the decision. Let me digress. I was diagnosed with the eye disease when I was 29 and told I would be blind by the time I was 35. And I can see better now than I have. One, I had cataract surgery, but two, it was the other thing that led me to go into the meditation because I believe that by altering my brain in a healthier, more cognizant, calm way, my vision will continue to heal. And that is the real answer to why I went there. Because I think that when we go out into the world, I live in Washington, D.C., it's a very stressful environment, right? You are on the street, there's a million things happening at one time. How do you stay centered to move through that craziness that's all around you? And I find that and you have to use your eyes, your ears, your legs, like every single part of your being to move in motion through that world. And I find myself to truly be calmer. And again, it's only been about 7 months since I did it, not even. And there's definitely a difference in the way my brain is working because of it. So that's really what brought me to this point.
It's interesting because when you talk about meditation, a lot of the time people say that either they can't do it or they don't have time to do it. And there's a saying, if you think you don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes, you need to do it twice as long. I don't know if you've heard that one. I've like messed that quote up completely, but the benefits of finding stillness in in the madness is, well, it's a superpower nowadays if you can do it. I mean, I moved to the edges now, but I lived for 24 years in London, so I know what it's like to be in an environment where there is just no peace. You know, there's like everything, there's sights and sounds and smells, and then there's like movement underground because the trains are going, and then there's all this electromagnetic and chemical pollution in the air, and there's everyone's, you know, everyone's energy of just rushing and trying to go and do and be and everything like that. So in order to exist in that space, you have to be on a heightened level of awareness and also kind of protection for yourself. And I know that when I moved further out to the edges of the city, it took me a few months to just calm down, because going out and then just being, oh, like, oh, nothing's happening, you know, I can relax a little bit more. I don't have to be on like heightened awareness. So being able to pull down and not have to try so hard to stay in stillness um was something that I needed to kind of just recalibrate my own energy as well. And then when I go back into the city, and it's like as I'm nearing in and the buildings are going up, and like, okay, here we go again. It's almost like you put like your force shield on as well, just to kind of get through it if you want to stay in your space. I mean, if you don't, then you succumb to the environment and what that's going to do and pull you around. Have you ever lived in more rural places? Have you always been in DC?
Well, the part of where I live in DC is I'm very close to the Maryland line, which doesn't mean anything to most people listening. But I don't live right in the city. I live a couple of miles above it. And so I am in a neighborhood where it's silent. My apartment looks out to a yard with trees and a pool. And even though it's a big building, it feels very calm and quiet. But it's the finding the quiet within. So to answer you, I lived, you know, when I was a child, I grew up near the ocean in New Jersey, but living in DC, I've pretty much been in the city environment. But again, where I live is like most people, I'm surrounded by trees and grass. So I can get to that Zen place. But I think the important thing to say to people that say 20 minutes is too long, we're in a world today where there is a lot of wellness apps. And like when I do, a lot of times I can do the meditation by myself, but in the TM app, they've created a whole way to help you meditate. Somebody leads the meditation at 7 every morning and 6 every night. And so his name is Bob Roth, and he will begin it by telling you, like, today was about how dogs smell. And they smell at such a heightened, why and what their body does. And, you know, a couple of days ago, it was about the brain or the carotid artery. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, he reads us a poem or a quote from someone that really, like, you take it into your day. So that for me is such a gift to have somebody lead it. And then if they don't, I'll do you know, if my timing is off when he does it, I'll just do it by myself. And, you know, I've missed a couple of times because my day may be too crazy. So I was on the train last Monday going to Baltimore, and I closed my eyes and just tried to do it. And I got about 10 minutes out. But you know what? All you have to do is just close your eyes. You get a mantra. The mantra's very simple and it's the easiest. And that's the way they teach it. Don't think. And if you fall asleep or your brain goes like on some wild magical mystery tour during those let it go.
Yeah.
That's really the key. But there's so many apps now to guide people that it really isn't difficult at all if you choose to do it. And like I said, it's changed my life and it is rewiring my brain.
Yeah, I mean the science is out there if people need proof. If they're like, some people won't do anything without the science, but what more science do you need than actually your own personal experience and recognizing how it changes your own life and how you respond to things in a different way. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about is with you, because we touched on it prior to speaking, was the idea of staying in shape. So, we've talked about physically, but also mentally and spiritually, and in particular, talking to as women get into the later years of their life. And I was sharing with you that I was noticing with two very prominent figures in my life how their experience of moving into the later years of their life are so different based on the work that they have or haven't done on themselves, or the outlook that they've got on what their life experience is. And I was sharing again, I'm just going to reshare on here, is that I noticed and that there comes a point in time where what's cute in your 20s and 30s and maybe even a little bit in your early 40s then it hardens and becomes a trait. And it can be, it can be a good trait or a bad trait, depending on which is the most prominent in you as well. And that's what I can really say about how I can see the split between these two people who are in my mind. That one just kind of like went more into being a heart-centered person, and the other has gone more into being a very, I'm going to say prickly as a polite word, and as you were seeing that you were moving into this phase of your life, what decisions did you make about what you wanted to experience and how you wanted to experience these years, having lived, having had that wisdom, having decided, okay, this is who I'm going to be, this is what is going to represent who I am? Because I think if we have the luxury and the honor of getting up there in age, if you want to say that, then that's what people are left with as a resounding legacy of who we are. It's very few people will think about us as we were 10 years old. If we lived until we were 90, you're going to remember the 90-year-old person. So what decisions did you make, or were there conscious decisions that you made in terms of deciding how you were going to live the wisdom years of your life?
Such a heavy question.
I didn't want it to be.
No, it's because the answer may not be what people like. I don't, yes, I've had a lot of birthdays, but I don't feel old. I don't feel young. I feel like grounded. And so have I made a lot of mistakes? Yes. Could I retire right now? No. I'm not in a position to do that, nor do I want to. I find, and I think I said this to you, maybe when we first met, and I think it's important to say again because, and it's going to be a little heavy, but so my father took his life when he was 67. And when my 67th birthday was approaching, I was flipping out inside. I didn't talk to anybody about it because I thought, oh my God, is something going to happen to me where all of a sudden I just like, and it wasn't as conscious as I'm making it sound. It was like a rumbling within me of, is something going to change where then I do this? And about a week-ish before my 67th birthday, I had an epiphany. And I can't tell you that light came shining on me, but something did. And it was my father saying, I could not go past 67. I'm handing you the baton, and 67 on are going to be the best years of your life. And in that moment, a switch flipped in my being. And it was, again, fireworks didn't go off. It was a very subliminal switch flip. And so I can tell you every single decade, I could tell you exactly what I was doing when that decade came and when I went through it. And where I am now, and I'm not married, I'm still single. I have wonderful people in my life. But I'm less like, there were times in my 20s, 30 and 40s where it was like, oh my God, I have to find a husband. I have to, where I just was like, what is wrong with me? And then again, something happened, and it really is at its height now, where I am more comfortable on every single level of my being. And I know that it happens for people at different ages, but like I was listening to someone who's turning 60, who's on television, and, they're saying 60 is the new whatever. Well, so is 70. And I just feel wiser. And like that was, I think, your original question. The wisdom is not from a book, it's from living life. It's from going from tragedy to triumph, which I don't wish on anybody, but every single part of our days getting here teaches us. And either, like what you were saying with the different people in your life, either you look at those things and you apply them and gain wisdom, or you don't. You just wallow through your life. And I don't choose to do that. I have, from the time I was a sophomore in high school and probably before, I don't feel like I've ever fit in. I've always felt different. I've never known how to express it. I was very popular. I always had a lot of friends. I still never felt like I fit in. I just was liked by everybody, and all of those little innuendos in life were there. But I really only know that I got here by the grace of God. And I feel so blessed to have had the guts kicked out of me. I'll say it, the shit kicked out of me over these years, because it's made me the person I am. And so when you ask me that very intelligent, profound question was, how did I prepare? I've never had a structured life. I mean, I went from the restaurant business to wine importing for 20 years to real estate, which I've done since 1998. And all I have survived. Somehow, some way, the cream always rises to the top. And I have been successful in everything that I do. Am I the best in each one of those things? I'm still striving to find out what the best is. But right now, I'm the best at what I do, and it's only going to get better.
Good for you. It's no more profound than just declaring that, well, I'm the best. And then that's your identity. And it's not even a comparison thing. It's just a knowing, that you have within yourself that you are the best at where you are, and working on, I'm talking about myself now as well, that proclamation. In a similar way, when I was at school, I was hugely popular. Like most people didn't really know the turmoil of my home life. For some reason at school, I was just like wildly popular with everyone, boys, girls, the SWATs and the people that, didn't get the best grades. It was just very easy for me to be around people at that point in time. And then I went out into the world and I was like, not so much. I tell you one thing, because I'm tall, I told you I'm tall. My careers teacher, I don't know why they assigned these people, had told me that I should join the police force, like a good use. And like I laugh now, but it was a good use of my height, if anything. Not even telling me to be a model.
Did you join the police force?
Of course not.
Good. But I think to your point is that you can go through life thinking all those things. A lot of the young people, back to what you said a little bit ago, they're comparing themselves to people on social media.
Mm.
And that is only going to raise your anxiety. And that is really what this whole time with you and me together is about, is finding your beingness within yourself and not compare. If I compare myself to other people, I'm going down. I'm going down because I'm not any of the, and I did it about a week and a half ago, and I came right back out of it and got back into my lane and realized that no one else has the experiences and the what I have to do what I do. And that's what the message of our time together today is, really hopefully helping people to realize, is it's from within, and you have to find your goodness and your worthiness.
What would you say is the biggest surprise that you've found out or are finding out about yourself and the way that you are in the world and what you're giving to the world? What is it like, almost like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to turn out this way, or that's what I was going to do?
God, you're asking me so many good questions. Is that I got to be at this time in my life, and I am more conscious of who I am. That I think that what you say, and I don't know the sayings, and I'm not going to even pretend to try to find them, but that you really do gain wisdom with age. And I feel that wisdom, and I also feel that I know nothing.
Mm.
Is that, yes, you get to this point, and then it's like, well, my gosh, I need to learn more. And I'm like a sponge. I want to learn more than I ever have.
Mm.
And the joy of life comes from within, not from without.
To add to that, not to, because I agree with you that wisdom does come, with age or with time. We can look at it that way. But similarly, one of the things that I always thought I was looking forward to as I get older, I'll be able to sit and have these deep philosophical questions with all my friends and peers, and we'll be like, what have we learned about life? What have we learned about the human experience? What have, all of these things. But there are people I can have those conversations with, which is one of the reasons that I enjoy having this podcast, because then I meet so many different people and I'm able to just be so curious about them, and in turn, they're able to share themselves. But there are many people who have no curiosity and have no, I don't know, they just didn't look that way, or haven't taken that time to respond to their life or reflect on their life in that way. And it's interesting because you're saying, you're realizing the wisdom and also realizing how much more there is to learn. I mean, there's so much information. I've got a list of books that I'm listening to on audio. There's not enough hours in the day to walk to them, and things that I need to, notes that I need to take, that if I try to keep on top of it, I'd never sleep. Because like there's like more and more and more to learn. Um, and yet so I know that there's never enough, there's never enough time. I could make time, I'm sure, if I was organized about it. But in contrast to that, there are people who are so closed and feel that they know everything, that have no wisdom, that are my age and years older than me as well. That I think for me, that was one of the biggest surprises, that I would meet people who were in their 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond, and they might as well be 15 years old, because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
closed around themselves. And whether it was, not all of them did so as a response to any kind of trauma. It was for some reason their level of curiosity or wanting to know more in the world, like, stop there and they have an arrested development on all levels, really. You know, maybe some of them might kind of keep themselves well physically, but mentally and in particular spiritually, they are arrested and not really allowing themselves to open up and experience or even ask questions of themselves.
But I think you're hitting on something that could be like a whole nother hour.
Probably.
Is that people are comfortable where they are and doing the work to evolve and to gain the wisdom is not easy. It's actually very difficult. And it's very disarming and just it's not comfortable getting here. You know, it's a lot of deep diving, looking in the mirror work. And so when you say that about people at whatever age, they don't want to do the work. They're fine where they are, they're comfortable where they are, and we can't change them. So guess what? They're not part of your world.
Yeah.
You move on. And that's one of the things that's happening for me in my life is new energies, people, experiences are coming into my life because I'm open to them. You know, there's a lot of lonely days, but then there's times like this with you expressing myself and I don't even pretend to know everything because like I just finished saying, wisdom is for a lifetime. But it's very easy to be comfortable with the same people, right? Living a very predictable life. And whether I was thinking about this morning, I was like, I didn't really choose, but I did to live an unpredictable life. Like I did this to myself, but I would pretty much do a lot of it again. A lot of it I wouldn't. But I just know that it's what has made me the colorful person that I am, is to have chosen to go through all of these challenges and to come into this light and to appreciate it. Like I said, of course I've made mistakes, terrible ones, really terrible ones that have cost me almost my life and definitely my finances. You know, I could be a billionaire now. But, you know, I did it. I can't change it. So I have to be where I am and continue to grow and love life and find the ways to do that.
Beautiful. And if there is something that you want to leave our listeners with in terms of who is Carroll Dey, what's Carroll Dey bringing to the world, and also share where people can find you.
Well, the finding me, I think you'll put that into the show notes probably.
Yeah.
And what I want to bring to the world is a time like this, is if we have helped you in any way, inspired you. The crux of what we said today is to love yourself and to find a way to do that. And, you know, reach out to me. Carol May will post my contact information. My email will be on there. And listen to this again. There's a lot of really magical nuggets in this time that we've had together. And hopefully, I want everything that I'm doing now in these podcasts to help people and to continue to grow with that. And because the more I help people, the more people help me.
Thank you so much, Carol. I love this conversation.
I did as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your story with me, and thank you so much for listening. If you've been enjoying her conversations, please feel free to leave a review and also spread the word about her conversations and higher energetic resonance as a movement in general. If you'd like to find out more about me, meet me on my website. It's carolmaywhittick.com. You can also find me on Instagram as Kazmick, Kazmick, and also on Facebook and LinkedIn under Carroll May Whittick. So until the next episode, have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.